The Red Gold and Bold podcast is happening right now. Thank you for joining us. Remember, if you're catching us via the podcast, you can be a part of the conversation. We do it live Fridays at 10 a.m. That's today's podcast. You can also catch us live on Tuesday nights at 9:30 p.m. Jeff Chadiha, NFL Network, NFL.com. Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm going to take a moment to shape up the playoffs in the AFC. Starting to get to that point where you can start talking about seedings. The Carolina Panthers on the docket for the Chiefs. We'll get into some predictions on that. What are the keys to the game for the Chiefs bouncing back from their loss to Buffalo? We'll talk about that as well. But these AFC playoff brackets, where do we have the toughest time? Who do we got in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seeds? We're talking about it right now here on the Red Gold and Bold podcast.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is the sports columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world: home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it. Get with Dave and he'll have you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call, visit them online, or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave. He'll give you peace of mind today for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
A lot of things going on here in the NFL. A lot of things going on in our world. So many things that I forgot the video open. How about that? Jeremy works really hard, gives us a beautiful open. We debut it on Tuesday night, and then I'm like, hey, let's go. Let's fire the way we always do things. We've got a great open. Thanks to our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. We've got great video for them. We'll do it next time. You can catch it if you didn't see the Tuesday one. Go back and get it.
Yeah. Very Xavier Worthy like, Soren. Right on the sideline. Just catch the ball, keep your feet in bounds. Touchdown.
That is the absolute perfect description. I love it. All right, so we'll do better next time. Jeremy, if you're watching, sorry for not putting your great work up there today, but we will have it up there in the future. All right, guys, let's start with this, Jeff. What was the hardest part? We're going to do the bracket first. What was the hardest part? Did you have a place like, who's the one? Who's the is it Steelers or Ravens win the division? What ended up being the toughest decision for you?
I think the toughest part is just 5, 6, 7. I mean, kind of figure out how all these teams are going to end up, because the Chargers and the Ravens are going to play this weekend on Monday night. Obviously, the Broncos are going to see the Bengals down the road. They're going to play the Chargers again. And there's a lot of scenarios you could see playing out where there's probably 4 or 5 teams that have a shot at those last 3 spots. I feel pretty good about Baltimore and the Chargers, but you just don't know where they're going to end up being. So that, to me, I think Pittsburgh's going to win the North, but I think the 4 division winners are pretty much set.
Yeah. By the way, I do like this. Hello, Terry. And then, of course, Tommy, got to be riding. Too Deep 2.0 is back, and it's okay, Soren. They only pay the bills. We try to, just as if you'd like this sponsor, I'll get a ticker up there. You can talk to our buddy Keaton, who handles all our sales. But we tend to over-deliver off what we promise, Tommy. So, if you'd like to advertise, if you're getting back into the bail bonds business or what have you, we tend to over-deliver off what we sell. So, we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. All right, Sam, how about you? What was the toughest decision for you?
The very top, the number 1 seed. It's. I think that there's a reason to believe that this number 1 seed is as important as it's been since the Chiefs were in the mix for it. Starting in 2018, and it's really tough to pick these final 5, 6 games for the Bills and Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a tough one. I did hem and haw about the Steelers and Ravens. We'll see where I ended up when it's all said and done. But that was a bit of a tough one for me. I didn't have as much problem down at the bottom That's interesting that you had that problem. Was it just 7 or was it
I
5
think
or
5,
6?
6, the order of 5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
where all these teams are getting. Because if the Ravens lose, then it really gets interesting. But
Yeah,
they could
it
end up.
does.
They wouldn't be a 7, but 5 or 6 easily.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. Where do we want to go? Do we want to go 7-1 or 1-7?
Go ahead, Sam.
Let's start at the top. Let's start at the top.
You want to start at the top? Okay. Sam wants to start at the top. Okay, so we'll start at the top. Jeff, do you want to do the honors? Who do you got as the number 1 seed? We'll get the disappointment out of the way for the Chiefs fans, and then we'll move to more optimistic.
Then you guys can make them feel better. Buffalo Bills. You called it. Buffalo Bills, number 1. We had this debate last week about the remaining schedule. I feel better about their schedule than I do about the Chiefs' schedule. You can debate the Lions or whatever. I actually think the Lions could lose to the Bills, just the way the Lions play defense. They play a lot of man coverage, and we saw what Josh Allen can do with his legs when he sees that coming. I think defensively, they may be a better matchup than what we've seen. I think the one game that, aside from their loss, the Lions had was to Minnesota, who played pretty good defense. And I think that, Brian Flores, and you look at what Bobby Babbitt has been doing with the Bills, I think they can do a similar thing. Held the Bills, ended up losing the game by 3 points. And so, I feel like that rough stretch there in December for the Chiefs, after watching the Browns, I'll add them to the mix too. Chargers, Chiefs, Steelers, Texans, Broncos, I don't see them getting through that stretch with more than 3 wins. I think both teams end up 14-3, and the Bills win the tiebreaker.
Okay, so you get the Bills all the way out of 14-3. All right, I'll make a note of that. Sam, who do you got at the top spot?
I've got the Chiefs, but like I said, this was the toughest part of the entire bracket for me. I feel like 55-45 on this. I've got them both losing 2 more games with the Chiefs and the Bills, and the Chiefs are obviously the record-wise a game up. Realistically, as we look at it, half a game up. Look at every team we're going to discuss today, save one. They have the easiest remaining schedule in terms of DVOA, and so that has to factor into my decision. And I know you guys look at the Chiefs schedule differently than I do. All the metrics say the Chiefs have an easier schedule than the Bills do. Now, I've been talking a lot this year about how the Chiefs have a pretty low floor. I don't think there's a lot of teams that you go into the week saying, oh my God, they're for sure going to win this game. Like, they can lose to the Broncos. They could lose to the Texans. They could lose to the Steelers. But I don't see them losing more than 2 games left. And I do have the Bills losing twice more. So that's ends up what my decision comes down to. Jeff's got the Bill. Jeff, we both have the Chiefs at probably 14-3. So I think the difference in Jeff's and my pick is I've got the Bills at 13-4.
So who's the other loss? Who's there? Who are you picking?
So when I know this is a cop-out answer. When I go through schedules, I say, hey, you've got an 80% chance of losing this game. You've got a 50% chance of losing this game, 50% chance of losing that game. Like, that averages out probability-wise to 2 losses. And I still think that this 49ers game, which, by the way, that look-ahead line is only 2.5. I still think that is a 60-40 game for the Bills. I still think the Rams game is like a 65-35 game maybe for the Bills. And I think the Lions game is probably a 75-25 game Lions. And that probability just works out to a couple losses for the Bills.
So if the Bills win, if they beat San Francisco and the Rams, it's over for the one that you think that the Lions.
I would if they win these next 2 games, I would absolutely favor the Bills to win. Look, I mean, the interesting thing about this is we're going to know the number 1 seed over the next 3 weeks for that reason, Jeff. I mean, the Bills we're not worried about what the Bills are going to do with the last 3 weeks. Like, we should know through 3 weeks whether or not the number 1 seed is what the win total requires for the Chiefs over the final weeks.
I too have the Chiefs at the 1 seed, and I have them 14-3, getting there. And the reason is I think the Bills just always, we've had a number of, it seems like every year for about the last 5 years, there is a point in the season where you're like, they're the team to beat. That's it. They've arrived. They're the team to beat. And somewhere along the way, they flub it up. And I do think that, I know they had an excellent day against the Chiefs, which seems to punctuate 6 games of 30-plus points. They're playing great offense, but I still do look at the receivers and go, I'm not overwhelmed by them. Okay, even with Amari
Matthew Johnson was.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
You don't have to be.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Amari Cooper did make a couple of really good plays on Sunday.
I like him. He's a fantasy standout. I usually end up going to him at some point every year on a couple of teams. So I'm an Amari Cooper fan, but I also think he's a move the chains guy, not a dynamic playmaker. I still think they're a grinded down the field offense, and so much depends upon Josh Allen. I think other teams can pressure the quarterback better, right? Like I think that's one of the things that the Chiefs aren't very good at, and so I think there are deficiencies. I think the Bills. It may be that a Bills Chiefs rematch is the same thing, but more exaggerated to the Bills' favor. If you wanted to make an argument for that, like if this is high school debate, and you gave me that side of it, I've got evidence that I can throw up there that it'll happen. But this is just about getting to where it is, and the Bills usually slop one up, and until they prove it, I'll wait and see where that ends up being. I think it'll be against the Niners or Rams.
I look at their record in the last 6 games of the season, the last 2 years. I think they've gone on a 6-game win streak and a 5-game win streak.
What's their record in championships?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you're talking about flubbing it up at this time of the year.
Yeah,
but I think they've proven they finished strong.
And that's a great point. And this may be that Josh Allen and Sean McDermott have learned all the lessons they need to learn, and they're ready to apply them, and the Chiefs aren't as good. I will freely admit that. And I think that is I'm with Sam, 55-45. I am not loving this and guaranteeing this by any stretch of the imagination. And if you want to call me a homer, fine. I'm good with that.
I think it's fair.
No, I will wear that myself. That may be ultimately where I decided on the Chiefs. Is like, that's my team. I try to always be honest. I'm a Chiefs fan. I can't, shed that. But so I do have Buffalo at 13-4. Does anybody have the flip side of KC Buffalo at 2?
Well, look, I just want to point out a stat because you guys brought up how the Bills finish. It's actually remarkable, like how consistent Josh Allen is from month to month over his career. 16-8 in September, 18-8 in October, 16-9 in November, 17-8 in December. Like 8 or 9 losses in every single month. It's kind of wild the way that it's that consistent. He is 5-0 in January.
Yeah, okay.
He'll be 6-0 in January. I mean, you look at the back end of that schedule. He'll be 6-0 in January.
It does look that way. I agree. All right, so who do you got at number 2, Jeff?
Chiefs.
Okay.
Chiefs. I mean, it's, look, again, I think they're 14-3. I think if you watched that Browns game last night, Browns-Steelers game, my concern for the Chiefs is they are moving into a stretch, not just a difficult stretch as far as schedule-wise and the timing of the games, but they're going to face a lot of teams that give them problems in areas they have not been able to fix. They're going to face teams that have a lot of pass rushers who are very physical. And the Browns have the kind of corners that can lock people up. And so you start looking at, okay, how is this team going to function offensively in these situations in colder weather against teams that get after the quarter? Look, trust me, if Greg Rousseau was giving Wanye Morris problems, imagine what Myles Garrett is going to do, or TJ Watt, or Will Anderson. You name the pass rusher, those guys are coming. And all 4 of those teams have playmakers at quarterbacks. And even, again, I'm not picking the Browns to beat the Chiefs, but I think when you start stacking up these games back to back to back against teams that have older players at key positions, I think about the Travis Kelce's, the DeAndre Hopkins, and the Chris Joneses. I just think you're going to get 2 losses in there somewhere.
By the way, there's a bigger homer than me. The Chiefs and Bills had 4 big 50-50 plays, and the Bills won all 4, said Tommy. Allen run, both of Cooper's long plays, and Worthy's sideline play. I don't know how Allen's run or either one of the Cooper plays were 50-50s. But okay. At least there's somebody bigger than me. Yeah. And Caleb said, as someone married to a Bills fan, absolutely. They flub it up every year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when it's all said and done. All right, your number 2, Sam, is the Bills then, correct? Jeff, did you have a record? It wasn't required, but I'm just curious.
14-3. I had the Chiefs at 14-3.
14-3. And Sam, what do you got?
Yeah, I've got the Bills at 13-4. Look, I think the one thing that's always a misconception about these schedules when they come out, not now, but when they come out, is looking at the end of the season and saying, oh man, that stinks. That's a really tough stretch in the season. You don't know that your game in week 18 is going to matter for your team or for the other team, which is why I'd always want to have a tougher game at the end of the season. Like, the Chiefs are fortunate that the Bills don't play the Lions in the last game of the season, for example. We don't know that the last game of the season is going to matter to the Detroit Lions. Right now, the Eagles and Vikings are trailing them by one game. Like, I think that changes over the course of the next month, in which case, like, the Bills' this game is going to matter a lot for the Lions when they face them in a few weeks. And so I recognize that absolutely has look, that's a primary factor in the way I weigh what these teams are going to finish now. But it's a good thing when the opponent's easy team, the team you're competing with, is playing their easy games at the end of the year, because the Patriots and Jets, whatever the game means now, like, they're going to be playing their guys at the end of the year.
Okay. We'll get to the rest of the seedings, who are the other conference champions, who are the wild cards, right after we tell you about our friends at David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized, full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Parking lot problems? They've been making them disappear in KC since 1994. Don't risk accidents and liability in your parking lot. Get your lot restriped today. A brightly striped lot will cut down on accidents and keep your lot as safe as possible. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Whataburger is proud to sponsor the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. Now at all your KC Whataburger locations, and for a limited time only, get your Whata Wings tossed in any of your favorite flavors, including the new Nashville Hot. Or get your hands on fire you can handle with the all-new, perfectly spicy Bacon Blaze Jalapeno Double. Get a kick this football season with these great new limited-time Whataburger favorites. Stop by any of the Kansas City Whataburger locations today. Whataburger's open 24 hours a day. All right, let's roll on here. The 3 seed now we get to. Jeff, who do you have at number 3? AFC Central, AFC South, the Texans get things rolling. What do you got?
Texans. I know that they, for whatever reason, have not garnered a lot of respect, and people have kind of forgotten that Stephon Diggs blew his knee out. Nico Collins didn't play for 5 games, but they're going to win the South. I think they're better defensively than what their numbers show. See the Detroit Lions game, and I feel like C.J. Stroud with Nico Collins back, with Joe Mixon running the football, they're going to become a more explosive offense down the stretch. I don't trust Pittsburgh because of their schedule. Too many tough games in there. A lot of teams playing for playoff spots. Even the Bengals are still trying to hang in there. So they got 2 games with them. They got the Ravens again. They got the Eagles. I don't see how they, especially if they're losing last night to Cleveland, I don't see how they are able to. They'll win the North, but they won't have that great of a record as they do it.
Okay, interesting. Do you have a record on the Texans?
I'll take them at 11-6.
11-6. Okay, not required, but I'm just making a note of it. Sam, who do you got?
I've got the Ravens with the 3 seed, and
wow.
Well, I mean, look, ESPN Analytics has
power move. Yeah,
ESPN Analytics has this as a coin flip between the Ravens and the Steelers, and they're a game behind. They get the Steelers at home still, and so that evens them up. And then I think their schedules are pretty similar otherwise, and the Ravens are a better team. And so I also think, it matters that the Ravens have the luxury of still having a bye late in the season. And I think that's going to look, if we've talked about the Chiefs playing 3 games in 11 days mattering, it has to also matter that you get a bye, and you're going to have a rest advantage over a lot of these teams you're playing over the last month of the season. The Ravens are still, I think, they're right there with the Bills and the Chiefs. They're part of the elite part of the AFC. And I just don't think the Steelers are that great. I still don't. I mean, I know we've disagreed with that before. I didn't hear from you guys last night after that game. I heard from you when the 49ers lost. Didn't hear from you last night when the Steelers lost.
You weren't celebrating the Browns.
You did not hear from us, but I will give you Patrick. Sam, how about those Steelers?
There we go.
There's some love here in the podcast. Patrick led with that. I was waiting for us to get down to this point to highlight that one. No, because you seemed upset when we gave you crap about the Niners. I didn't want to get in your head with the Steelers.
I didn't know he was celebrating the Steelers or dogging the Steelers. You've been ripping them.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yes, he has been down on the Steelers. What did you have a record for Baltimore?
I didn't pick the records. I didn't know that was part of the homework.
No, it wasn't. I just thought it was curious because I ended up doing it, so I put it down because I'm like, okay, well, what is it? Where do they have to be for it to end up being this? And so I went back with the games. I too have Baltimore. I've got Baltimore going 12-5 for everything Sam said. I know I gave you a hard time. I think the Steelers are a hard game, but I don't think they're a team that can win 3 playoff games in a row. Right? Like, I don't think they have enough offense. I think that showed itself in Cleveland, despite George Pickens thinking it was just the snow. Right. I think it was a little bit more than that. Sorry there, George. But, I do think that the Ravens are the better team. And so I think when it's all said and done, they're going to be the one that ultimately rises to the top. And I think they've lost.
Are they a better team? Are they? Or are they like they just have a more electric offense? Like their defense is pretty bad this year.
I think both of those statements you just made are true. I think they have a more electric offense, which I think makes them a better team.
Yeah.
Right, like
they just play each other though.
I understand. And was it a route?
I think the Steelers. I think the Steelers are to the Ravens the way the Bengals are to the Chiefs. Like they are a tougher matchup for them.
Yes,
they defend Lamar Jackson better than anyone else does. I don't think like if we're picking the Ravens Steelers heads up, that's actually a harder pick for me than who's going to perform better against the rest of the league.
I think it's similar to, I mean, do we look at the Broncos and Chiefs and go, well, the Broncos, I mean, they're the better team. Look, they've won, they split the last 2 games. Therefore, Denver's better. Their point differential's better. They didn't have to win on an overtime kick the last time. They beat the Chiefs Saturday. No, I mean, like head to head, that's an ugly matchup. I don't think the Chiefs want to see Denver in the playoffs. In fact, I think one of the reasons to be pessimistic about the Chiefs winning a championship is I don't think you want to see Denver. I don't think you want to see the Chargers. I don't think you want to see the Bengals. I don't think you want to see the Ravens. I don't think you want to see the Bills because I think all of them now know how to play the Chiefs. There's that familiarity there. That makes it tough. And so I think it's really going to be a war of attrition in the AFC playoffs. And whoever wins it this year, history is going to tell us that they were the best team. They did it all. And in reality, you could shake it and pull out numbers. And that's probably who would come out of the AFC this year.
Yeah, I noticed that on defense this time of year. Defense matters most. That's the only much.
It actually, I will disagree with that. Last year's Chiefs, when it comes to winning the Super Bowl, I saw this stat put up by, I'll give credit to ESPN, 23 Chiefs, 15th in points scored, 2nd in points allowed. 4 previous Super Bowl winners, 22 Chiefs, 1st in points, 16th in points allowed. 21 Rams, 7th in points, 15th in points allowed. 20 Bucks, 3rd in points, 8th in points allowed. 19 Chiefs, 5th in points, 7th in points allowed. Now you get down there to the bottom 2, they're both top 10 in both. But the 2 after that, 22 and 21, all 4 of the last 5 years, offense has been more important than defense for the champion.
Maybe I missed something there. I thought you said the 3 of the last 5 champions had top 10 defenses.
I did, but
4 of the last 5 had top 10 offenses.
Yeah, and 4 of the last 5
I'm saying the defense matters. You're not going to bet on
it. Matters,
how many have bottom 5 defenses?
It matters.
It all matters. It all matters. But if you want to average it, the average comes out to 6th in offense and almost 10th in defense. Yeah. So I mean, it all matters.
Jeff, if you had to be ranked 1 in one side of the ball and 15th on the other side of the ball, which one are you picking?
Yeah.
Oh, offense for sure. But what I'm saying is the Ravens defense is if your defense is bad, it can weigh you down. See the 2018 Chiefs, right? To the point you can't overcome that. And so that's my concern with the Ravens is that, they're great offensively, but they have games where they just look horrible defensively, and that kills you. when you're playing against better teams.
It's a fair point. All right, 4 seed, Jeff. Who do you got 4? Obviously, it's the left.
Steelers.
Right? So you
Steelers.
You got who? Steelers?
Steelers.
Did you do a record?
I didn't do a record for anybody, but I'll take them at 11-6.
Okay. And I'm not going to hold you to that because you make it down and be the same thing. And you've got Houston, I assume, Sam?
Yeah, I've got Houston. I mean, look, they get there by winning the division. I will say Jeff said earlier, he doesn't understand why people aren't talking about the Texans. Like, their offense has not been good this year. I think they're getting a lot of credit for what they did last year. And
they haven't had their receivers.
But they still don't get one. They still don't get one of them back. Like, we're judging the Chiefs based on how they are without their receivers. We're not saying, oh, well, they don't have Rashee Rice, so they're actually better. I mean, the biggest thing to me is last year they were this quick strike offense that could complete the deep pass. So looked up Stroud's numbers for this. Last year he had 32 downfield completions and 8 touchdowns, 8 deep passing touchdowns. This year he only has 13 downfield completions and just 2 touchdowns. And all throughout the offseason, I said I was really intrigued to see what defenses did to C.J. Stroud because that's how he had his success, and reminded me of 2018 Mahomes. And then you got to face the adjustment. That's what C.J. Stroud and the Texans offense is in the middle of right now. I mean, they're 24th in the league in DVOA offensively. Like, their offense just has not been great this year. They do get Nico Collins back. I do think that makes a difference, but I don't think they're suddenly going to be a top 5, top 10 offense.
And Joe Mixon was hurt too for I think 3 games. So I think their offensive line hadn't been great, but I think it's unfair. It'd be like judging Patrick Mahomes this season and saying, look, he's taking a step back. Well, guys have been hurt. That affects you.
But that's
your offensive line is right. I mean, they are ranked in the bottom 5 in ESPN and pass pro and in run blocking both. And look, where you are on defense and that mattering, like, I'm pretty close to there on offensive line. Like, it's really tough to go in with a bottom 5 offensive line to these tough games into the playoffs and expect to win it.
Yeah, I will say this, like, every team right now is talking about the guys they're going to get back. Like, everybody thinks they're going to get better. You know, the Bills are like, we're about ready to get Matt Milano back. And I can tell you all of Buffalo thinks Matt Milano wears a red cape, okay, and tights and flies over Buffalo, and just makes everything different, the way they gush about Matt Milano. He's a very good player, I agree. But, I mean, they think they're going to get better. The Chiefs think they're going to get better because Amenahu and Pacheco are coming back. Like, I'm with you. I do think, and I think Mixon being new to the team should get better as time goes on. Health and familiarity with his guys. You know, he did have a nice game last time out. So I think there is potential for the Texans to get better. I do agree. But I also think they're the weakest. Maybe. I think there's a shot. Let me look at who else I got in here. Yes, I think there's a very good chance that when the playoffs start, they're the weakest team. I think they're in.
I'd be fine with that. Yeah. But look, I'm not picking them to win the Super Bowl. I'm picking them to be the 4th seed.
Yeah, no, I understand. Hey, listen, we're usually picking nits when we're just.
You did have him at 3 though.
But he's got a slugfest going on between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I mean, he's got a tiebreaker between the two, putting Houston in front. So I can see where he gets there. You can also see if you need help. If you've been in an accident, Northland Injury Law has got you covered. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Besame Wellness for all your cannabis needs. With fast, easy, and discreet delivery, you can enjoy the same deals you enjoy in-store, but delivered to your home or office. Even same day. Restrictions may apply. Any questions? Let Besame's top-rated customer service team assist you. And this Chief season, don't miss a minute of the game with no delivery fees on game days. And when the home team wins, so do you. Use promo code 3PEAT and receive some extra free goodies with your next Besame order. Don't forget, you can still use promo code podcast25 to save 25% on your entire order for online delivery or at any of their 5 area Besame locations.
Let's get to the wild cards, Jeff. The 5 seed. Who do you got making it as the top wild card?
I'm going with the Ravens. And trust me, it's a coin flip right now. If you ask me this question on Monday night and the Chargers are winning, I'd go with the Chargers. But I think the Ravens are more battle tested. I think Lamar is more capable of making big plays down the stretch. They get a big player back. Keaton Mitchell is coming back into their offense. They got to figure out if Tre'Davious White can help them in the secondary. He's playing more. But, I'm a big fan of what Jim Harbaugh is doing with the Chargers, but betting on those kind of teams to be very high up in the seedings in their first year, it's fool's gold. I think they make it, but I think the Ravens are a better team right now.
Can I cut in for a second? You mentioned Tre'Davious White. I mean, we think the Chiefs should have had a harder look at Tre'Davious White, given what we saw from their cornerbacks in Buffalo. He was out there available for nothing.
Yeah, they should have taken somebody.
And they tried for Marshawn Lattimore, and I think if the Commanders aren't in there, that the Saints end up accepting a Chiefs trade for Lattimore, but they end up without him, and like I said, White's for nothing.
I think they have a philosophy, and I think you stick with it. I mean, I don't like putting money into older guys, especially at quick twitch reaction positions. Like if you're going to go D tackle or guard, interior, inside. But I don't mind it. I mean, like right now, I think hindsight's 20/20. They like Jalen Watson. Jalen Watson was doing a great job.
I'm talking about midseason. I'm talking about because he was let go by the Rams. So yeah. I'm not talking in the offseason. Absolutely. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay. That's right.
But his salary cap hit with the Ravens is $1.2 million since they picked him up midseason. It's not a real expensive deal.
I think I would have been fine with it. I would have understood it if they did it, but I'm also of the opinion that he probably can't run, that we're going to see him exposed. I mean,
I think they're still hopeful of that. Look, they've stuck with Sky Moore for how long and Kadarius Toney for how long. I'm sure they have the same mindset with their young corners of like, hey, sooner they'll figure it out. So I think that to bring him in would be waving the white flag on some guys.
Okay. Sam, who do you got in the 5?
I've got the Chargers. I think the Chargers are solid. They're beatable. There are some losses on the back end of their schedule. They don't have the easiest schedule. Justin Herbert's been great. Defensively, they've been really solid. Their coverage is massively improved. And look, the way I described the Chargers before the season was they have like this don't screw it up team and don't screw it up schedule, and they finally have a don't screw it up coach. So I've got them at 5, and they've got the leg up with the record on some of these teams they're competing with too.
Yeah, I've got the Chargers there as well. I've got them going 12-5. I think they're on a roll. I think this game Monday night is giant. I think it's the biggest, Chiefs-Bills was the biggest game of the year, I think, to this point. This is a giant one as well because it is for the top seed amongst the wild cards, if that's what it comes to, but it's also Baltimore needs it to gain that ground on Pittsburgh. And I think, if you're the Chargers, you can smell some blood in the water with the Chiefs. And you're very
exactly.
much they're 2 games back of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And, as long as they, let's assume a Chiefs win. If they win here, they stay 2 games back of the Chiefs, and they got one of those games in hand, right? They get to play the Chiefs, and so they can make one up head-to-head. So they really only need the Chiefs to falter once.
Yep.
Right. So I think this is a giant game for the AFC playoff structure. Ravens, Steelers, Chiefs, Chargers, but also with the way these 2 teams are going to seed and should they end up in the wild card. I think it is one of the biggest games, not to mention you got good quarterbacks, you got good coaches. It's just a great football game,
and that tiebreaker in that scenario, just to let people know, would be, head-to-head would be even if the Chargers beat the Chiefs. It next goes to division record. Neither of the other 2 Chargers losses are in the division. So right now they just have the 1 loss in the division, which is against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
After that, I think it goes to common
record.
I think it might go to common games before
conference
record. Yeah. I think in the division. Yeah. In the division. Yeah. To break a tie within the division, head-to-head, division record, and then win-loss in common games. And so I don't think that the Chargers play the Bills this year, right?
No.
And so the Chargers lost to the Steelers, who the Chiefs do play. So that magnifies the importance of that Steelers game for the Chiefs to get a better common game record than the Chargers. And they lost to the Cardinals, who the Chiefs do not play.
Yeah. So it's pretty open. It's like what you're saying. Like it's going to be written. between now and the end of the year. So the Chiefs don't have any margin for error. They have one game's margin of error between now and the end when it comes to the Chargers. All right, Jeff, who are you rocking at the 6th seed?
Chargers. I mean, they're going to be, but for all the things you guys just said, I've seen this act everywhere Jim Harbaugh has gone, and it doesn't surprise me if you look at the videos and all the high fives and the who has it better than us, chants. They look like a college team when they win games. Those guys are fired up. They're bought in. And it just goes to show you how much, quarterback play matters. Excellent quarterback play matters in this league. But if you run the football, protect the football, and play good defense, you will win half your games easy. And that's what Jim Harbaugh has proven with this squad. He's built a strong offensive line. He's kept the right people there. They don't miss Keenan Allen or Mike Williams, Ross, and Eckler. The AFC West for the next 5 to 10 years, or however long these guys coach, is going to be Sean Payton in there too. It's going to be rough.
Okay, Sam, where do you sit at the 6th?
I've got the Steelers. So I have them fairly low, but let me
got melting down.
Well, let me tell people how they finish. I mean, the what's left for the Steelers is at the Bengals, home against the Browns, a team they just lost to, at the Eagles, at the Ravens.
By the way, can I just say, a team they just lost to, which is why they will kick the holy living crap out of the Browns.
Yeah.
Sure,
on a short week on the road.
Let's give them
playing the Ravens.
Let's give them the Browns win. They still go at the Bengals, at the Eagles, at the Ravens, home against the Chiefs, home against the Bengals. That is a brutal schedule.
I agree.
Before this week, they had like the 10th toughest schedule in the NFL. They just played the Browns. That game now being off the schedule, I bet we wake up on Tuesday and they're ranked as the hardest schedule left in the NFL.
Oh yeah, I think so as well. And I'm with you. That's why I've got the Steelers here as well. And I wouldn't be shocked if one of the bottom feeders gets hot that the Steelers don't end up being the 7. Right? I can see that because of how that schedule is. But I think Pittsburgh will also muddy the waters on those teams, and they will steal some wins. It's what they do. They're good. They're really good. They're good on defense, and they should have beaten the Browns. Let's be clear.
They're not really good.
They are good.
I'm so unwilling to
Does their record not matter? Like why? Listen, exactly. I love stats too, but how many times does DVOA have to take it in the balls before?
There's a lot more than DVOA that does not like the Steelers. This is not a one DVOA. I don't know where they are. I don't know where they are in DVOA. I don't know where they are in DVOA. But DVOA would not be on an island if it does not like the Steelers offense this year. What do you like about the Steelers offense?
I don't love
last week you mentioned Russell Wilson and his rating is terrible.
What I like is Mike Tomlin's steady play at quarterback, great defense.
Mike Tomlin blew the game last night,
and a commitment to the style of play that they have. The big listen. Everybody makes a mistake. So Mike Tomlin sucks. I should not count Mike Tomlin as a positive. Is that your point?
For their offense?
Otherwise, you're just
for their offense. No. For their, I said, what do you like about their offense? And you mentioned Mike Tomlin. I don't like Mike Tomlin.
I do like Mike Tomlin when it comes to their offense because he has a commitment to what they do.
Yeah.
Right? Does he make every decision right? No. Neither does everybody else. But the man has never had a losing record. He has taken trolls and made them, winning record teams. And when he has good talent, which he has now, they're tough as hell. So they're a tough team to beat.
If you take Justin Herbert out of the equation, like the Chargers and the Steelers have the same offense. And you can't love the Chargers or what they're doing.
I'm not taking Justin Herbert out of the equation. How can you do that? He's the quarterback.
Well, I'm just saying, who's he throwing the ball to? I would argue that Steelers have better weapons than he has to throw the football to. I mean, you may not Russell Wilson is not horrible. Russell Wilson.
How can we take the quarterback out of the equation? He is the equation.
Well, what I'm saying, he raises it up, but at the end of the day, offensively, I guarantee you the numbers for the Chargers and the Steelers' offenses are about the same. Whatever metrics you want to look at, they're probably about the same offense.
The quarterback is massively different. Justin Herbert has been a top 5 quarterback, but the Steelers are still rotating quarterbacks.
He blows every close game he's ever been in.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Yeah.
He is wet down his leg every single time.
What about last week when he had a game-winning touchdown?
What about every
single one
on the line
last week?
He died against the Raiders. He couldn't get another score against the Jaguars as he's crapping away a giant lead.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't put that all at his feet. Jim Harbaugh will make that better. There's no doubt. But the quarterback's better for the Chargers. Nobody's arguing that the Steelers have a better quarterback.
Yeah. But
right?
Russell Wilson isn't Daniel Jones.
We're like just tossing it aside like it doesn't matter. The Steelers are still playing two quarterbacks. The Steelers are still playing two quarterbacks. Like, that's how much confidence they have in Russell Wilson. They're benching him like throughout the game, every game.
Who's scoring more points a game?
I don't know who's scoring more
I bet you the Steelers scoring more points a game.
I can tell you. It is neither one of them are very good. I got Steelers are slightly ahead, 22.9 to 22.0.
So it's the same offense.
There's a valid point there. Let's go to the next one because we're going to run out of time. Let's go to the 7 seed. I think this is an interesting debate. Jeff, who you got at 7?
Oh, I'm going with the Broncos. I've been on the Bengals bandwagon for a while, but I finally accepted that, if you're going to keep shooting yourself in the foot, at some point you just can't buy into it. They're going to play on the 29th. There's still a road for the Bengals to get there. It's almost impossible to see them winning out the way they've been losing games. So Broncos, I'm a bigger Bo Nix fan now than I was 2 weeks ago. Their defense is elite. Sean Payton has shown his coaching chops once again after what happened last year. I think they get the 7 seed.
All right, Sam?
Well, I'm setting myself up to look up like an idiot here, but I've got the Bengals still getting the 7 seed. And their next 4 games are Steelers at home, which is a tough
easy
game.
win.
Then they play the Cow. Well, we can make a side wager on that game if anyone's interested in that. They play after the Steelers. They play the Cowboys, Titans, and Browns. And I know the Browns are a really tough team. That's the only way you can beat that Steelers team. But I think they go 4-0 over the next 4 weeks. And guess what's after in the 5th week? They get the Broncos at home, in which case they'll have the tiebreaker. So they're 2 behind. To me, it's going to come down to that game in week 17. And I've got the Bengals winning that game. So that's why I think the Bengals.
So you trust them to not screw it up in the ways they've screwed it up. And they're 4 plays away from being 8-3 right now.
We're picking probabilities here. The Broncos could, or the Bengals could certainly screw this up. Absolutely they could.
Generally speaking, the best quarterbacks play in the playoffs, and I'm with you. I've got Cincinnati getting it done.
Wow.
I don't think the Broncos. I'm with you. I think more of Bo Nix now than I did 2 weeks ago as well. I think that's a great statement, but I don't think enough of him to not shoot himself in the foot at some point. I think Joe Burrow is playing at an ultra high level. There's a history of the Bengals being better than this on defense. I think they'll get enough better to get themselves into the playoffs. I think the Dolphins. Did anybody consider the Dolphins?
No. You should come on St. John's Bordia show with me and argue that one because they think I'm an idiot for the Bengals this long.
I do not. I looked at it and I was like, they're a little. They look 8-9 to me, which I think 8-9 means the last 2 weeks they're going to be in the conversation, right? Because I don't think the Bengals are going to have to come from below 500 to in front. I've got the Bengals getting there at 9-8. And if I dug through the tiebreakers, I might be like, that's dumb. I should take the Broncos because if they're 9-8, they'll win the tiebreaker. I may be dumb for doing that, but I've got the Bengals fighting their way to 9-8. So
the Chiefs, the last 2 weeks of the season for the Chiefs, who they're playing and who they're not playing would be very interesting because the Broncos, the Bengals, the last game of the season between the Broncos and the Chiefs could have huge magnitude attached to it.
Yeah, all right, we're always brought to you by our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete and David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized, full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Parking lot problems? They've been making them disappear in KC since 1994. Don't risk accidents and liability in your parking lot. Get your lot restriped today. A brightly striped lot will cut down on accidents and keep your lot as safe as possible. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. I don't think you can see how much we think of the game because we're leaving a whole bunch of time for the Chiefs and Panthers. Let's get some offensive and defensive keys to the game real quick, and we'll give our predictions. Jeff, what do you think the keys are for a Chiefs win?
Well, offensively, they have to obviously do what they've been doing successfully, running the football. I think you have to get Hopkins and Travis Kelce going. And this is the kind of game where you want to see those kind of players have a lot of success, Xavier Worthy included, because you're talking about a defense that's the worst in the league with the Panthers, and they're not going to have to be chasing points or probably worrying about a close game because the Panthers are the second worst team in the league in scoring points. So I think that you shore up your weaknesses. You protect the quarterback. You make sure that your playmakers are making plays, and you chalk up an easy win.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think the keys are, Sam?
So offensively, like if the Chiefs struggle to move the football, I think it's going to be a pretty alarming week.
Yeah.
And it's specifically because of where the Panthers have struggled is like the reason the Chiefs offense hasn't been clicking as much as the Panthers don't generate pressure. They have the second lowest sack rate in the league. They have the second lowest pressure rate in the league. And I think how many times has Jeff mentioned that the Chiefs have to face TJ Watt, that the Chiefs have to face Bosa, there's all these, edge rushers that they have to face. Like, they don't face a team that's getting a lot of pressure, despite the Panthers blitz a decent amount. They're 12th in blitz rate, and they still do not generate pressure. Like, this is a week to where your offense needs to get going. And because of the defensive line, like, the Panthers also allowed the most rush yards in the league. Like, this is a game that you should win up front. And when the Chiefs win up front offensively, there's no excuse for their offense not to click. So I think that's offensively. Defensively, I think there is one matchup that would worry me if I was the Chiefs, which is the Panthers have good guard play. They're good on the interior. And the only place right now that the Chiefs are generating pressure from is at the interior. And so if they can corral Chris Jones, and that's obviously, relatively speaking, he's as good as he still has the top, win rate in the league for interior linemen. Like, he's tough to beat. But if you can solve the Chris Jones issue, the one thing, they've got a lot of offensive weapons coming back this week, including a running back that hasn't played before. Adam Thielen looks like he's probably going to play. We'll learn that more later this afternoon. But if you give a quarterback that's struggling a lot of time to throw the ball, like, to me, that could spell some unnecessary trouble, I think, defensively.
Listen, I'm going to say this. I think this needs to be a just throw your helmet out on the field game. Like, no NFL team can go in against another NFL team and think that, but that's what it needs to be. I'm with you. They need to go up and down the field on this team. They need it for the rest. They need to know that they are definitively better than some teams out there. They've been in nothing but dogfights, but every game has been a team that, you can say, hey, that's a pretty good team. Hey, that's a pretty good team. Can't say that about this Carolina team. They're doing better. I think there are signs of progress there because I believe you strip everything down and then you build it up. And I think they've done a good job of flushing out Jonathan Mingo and whoever they don't like, right? Because you get 1 year where it's not your fault. It's the previous regimes. Year 2, it's on you to get it going. And I do think Carolina's doing some things right, but that's a big picture thing. That's not a week-to-week thing. They're not good enough to hang with the Kansas City Chiefs. If they are legitimately a Super Bowl contender, they should hammer them. They should blow them out. I think a key to the game is to get the passing game going. There's no reason for it not to. You mentioned the lack of pressure, Sam. So I think one of the keys is to throw the ball and throw it effectively and throw it consistently. And I think they need to put their foot on the gas and blow this team out. I think they need it mentally to remind themselves that they're a really good team. And defensively, if you can't get pressure on Carolina on the outside, that's a problem, right? So at some point they have to turn around. And I did not love the answer from Steve Spagnuolo yesterday when I said, hey, it's all the same guys. You missed Charles Omenihu for 6 games last year. I know it's been 10 this year without him, but why are the numbers down? And it was kind of like, it's a good question. I know. That's why I asked it. Like, you don't have to give me the answer. You don't have to tell the media and the fans the answer right now, but you better have some ideas when you sit in those meeting rooms with the rest of the assistants.
Isn't he telling you the answer there, though? I mean, like, coaches like Steve Spagnuolo do not like to single out players. They do not like to say that players are struggling. That's his answer when that's a non-answer. Like, that's what we should read into it, is that George Karlaftis isn't winning like he was last year. Yes. Mike Dana's winning less than he was last year. Like, their edges just aren't winning.
Yeah, and that's the other point in it. He said, well, they were double teaming Chris Jones a lot, and we weren't winning the other battles.
Yeah. Well, and what's also happening too is your coverages. And so when you get there in the back end, guess what the quarterback says? You know what? I don't really worry about what's happening here because I know if I throw the ball in this direction, 98% chance something good's happening for my team.
Which is why I'll say, see the points on the offense. I think the offense has to get better because I think the defense was probably gonna outperform what all of us thought with Jalen Watson being healthy because he was really stepping up. And we all expected the defense to come down, but the offense was going to, if they take one step back, the offense is going to take two forward. Well, the defense is now taking that step back. And I don't know that they're going to get it back without Jalen Watson. So that offense has to find those two steps forward. And to this point, they haven't done it. That's where they can have it. Prediction, Jeff, what do you got?
Oh, I think it'll be a close game. After all said and done, I'll take Carolina. I'll take a Chiefs.
Oh man, he started by Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to retire on this one. Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs. I'll take them 23-16.
23-16. All right, Sam.
I've got the Chiefs at 27-16.
KC 27-16, and I will take. I'm going to. Oh God!
Fury time.
This is the week. The Fury.
That's right. That's right.
This is it. It is time to unleash the Fury. It is 31-10 Chiefs.
Never wrong.
30-point game. Wow.
31-10. I mean, they're going to get to 30. This is it. They unleash the Fury. Xavier Worthy 100 plus. It is time. It is time.
Going to catch a man, stay in bounds this time.
Yeah. That's right. He's got it figured out now. We're always brought to you by some great sponsors. You can support the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast by supporting our great sponsors like David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331, insuring everything. They'll do a great job for you. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's best. For 30 years, they've been making parking lot problems disappear. One contractor, all things parking lot. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. Our friends at Key Cannabis, you can find them as well and get offers, discounts for veterans, med patients, cannabis industry professionals, seniors, first responders, and students. Open 7 days a week. They're online at keykannabis.com. That's keykannabis.com. And of course, we welcome this week our newest sponsor, Whataburger. Proud to sponsor the Red, Gold, and Bold. Now at all your KC Whataburger locations for a limited time. Get your Whata wings tossed in any of your favorite flavors, including the new Nashville Hot. You've got some great tailgate packs for you, some great take-home boxes, whether it's 10 of the single Whataburgers or the double Whataburgers. That is a great way to put a great spread on for watching you some Chiefs football. Get it at Whataburger. Remember, Whataburger is open 24 hours a day. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network and NFL.com, Sam McDowell is columnist for the Kansas City Star. My name is Soren Petro. I'm at Sports Radio 810 WHB. We say thank you very much for joining us here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.